Is it working? Okay, it's working. Okay, let's record this video. So, I'm with Haru. Haru and I are in the same Warframe clan, and we're also in the same Destiny clan. And recently, I think it was like maybe 2 months ago, we made kind of a switch from playing Warframe to playing a lot of Destiny. Is that right, Haru? It was like 2 months ago, 3 months, three
Um,
months ago.
no, it's 2 months ago,
About
probably. Yeah.
about 2 months ago. Yeah. Okay. And you were just saying that you saw the news in the Blessed chat, and Blessed's the clan that we're in, the Warframe clan that we're in, about how Tencent, or not Tencent, Leo Holdings is up for purchase, and there's companies bidding on it, like Tencent, Sony, who knows who else. And if one of these companies buys Leo Holdings, then they also own Warframe, or they own Digital Extremes and Warframe, and that could have an impact on the game. And you said that that kind of like dissuades you from logging into the game, right?
Yeah, the thing is, well, mm, from all the stuff that these made lately, the game is not on the best state for veteran players now. It's just more like they're focusing on new players. So
Yeah,
you see, if another company, an external company, buys the company that owns Digital Extremes now, probably they're just gonna go in a different way with the monetization. So that's an issue that we need to see depending on who buys
yeah. I
that
think,
company.
I think it could be a good thing potentially. Maybe it could be a good thing. It could be a bad thing. It depends on how things are run. But it's definitely it's kind of interesting because when I initially switched from Warframe to Destiny, one of the first things I noticed was that Destiny is more heavily monetized than Warframe is. You probably noticed that as well, right? Like there's actual like huge chunks of content and storyline content, and even classes like some of the RPG elements are locked away behind a paywall. Like you can't use,
You mean the expansions, right?
yeah, like the subclasses for the classes, for example, right? Each class has two different subclasses, and the third subclass is locked away behind a paywall. You have to buy an expansion to get access to that, right?
Right.
That's in Destiny, but there's nothing like that in Warframe. There's no, you have to pay to get access to a Warframe. All of the Warframes are available for free, and even if the Prime version is just a higher stated version of the original one, even if you wanted the Prime version of it, you can still buy it from other players. You can play the game for free, earn in-game platinum, and use that platinum to buy Prime Warframes or whatnot, right? So
Correct. And that is the thing. Um, Digital Extremes is a Canadian company, right?
yes,
So the way they monetize the games, it's completely different from an Asian company. And it's a whole world of difference between Chinese, Japanese, and Korean companies.
yes,
So this is why it's gonna depend on who buys the use. So Warframe's Destiny, well, now if you want to call it like that, it's depending on this now. Because
yeah.
depending on that, you can keep the same monetization, you can go completely the opposite way and sell everything now, or just completely destroy the game.
Yeah,
That has happened to a lot of RPGs lately.
yeah. But the thing too though is like their best interest is not to destroy the game, because I mean if they're going to buy the game, it's expensive, right? It's a lot of money. That would be like me buying a big expensive house just to demolish it. Like that would be such a waste of my money, right? Like they want to make earnings off of their purchase. The whole point, anyone at that point, at that level, they're buying an investment company. The whole reason of investing at any point is to make more money back than what you put into it. Or there's some other kind of shady, weird things you can do too. But I think for the most part, when it comes to this, they're probably buying it to try and get a return on their investment. So it's in their best interest, I think, to try and grow the game, grow the company, or somehow make back more money than what they spent on buying it. Because no one buys something to lose money, right? And it's extremely rare that you would come across a situation where they would buy something for the sole purpose of destroying it. But another point to bring up too is that you said that Asian companies monetize games very differently. than like a North American company or a Canadian company, it's worth pointing out that Lei Holdings is a Chinese company. When Digital Extremes was looking for a publisher or some investors to help them launch Warframe, uh, they were turned down by pretty much everyone they went to in North America, from what I understand. And eventually, they had an offer from this Chinese company called Lei Holdings, and Lei Holdings at the time was investing in poultry, in chicken, and they weren't getting very good returns on their investment in chicken, and Warframe was succeeding dramatically, and Warframe became like their flagship investment. And so Lei Holdings switched from poultry to investing in technology or like video games and software, and that's where they've seen most of their growth, it seems. But so it seems like Lei Holdings has given Warframe a lot of room to do or Digital Exchange to do their own thing, but it also, this could be speculation, but I also think that they put a lot of deadlines imposed on them to get stuff out on certain intervals, like once every 4 months or once a year kind of thing, and that's where you see the developers kind of rush out content.
Oh yeah, and absolutely, you can see that because we've seen a lot of content that is
not finished, yeah, not polished.
Yeah, it's not polished, it's not finished, it's just so far content.
Yeah, it seems.
And that started happening when they got with this company.
Yeah, it seems like there's kind of like this disconnect where it's kind of like it's like going to school, for example, and your teacher gives you a deadline to write an essay, and then you just like scramble to get it together in time, and it's kind of like it's not a very good essay, but you got it out there in time. It's like, here's a 10-page essay, but it's not written particularly well yet, and still needs more work done on it, but whatever, it's done. But the other thing too is, like you were mentioning earlier, how they've been focusing on newer players more than veteran players. I think like there's been times where Digital Extremes has focused more on newer players than veteran players, but lately it doesn't seem quite so much, because even though they upgraded the Jackal, that's something that everybody I think kind of benefits from. And they put it into sorties too to appeal to the veteran players. Also the hard mode or Steel Path coming out, and when they updated the status effects system, that was kind of interesting. I was surprised by that, but that's stuff that I wouldn't say is necessarily for newer players. But when it comes to things like re-releasing Wolf of Saturn 6 cosmetic items in a Nightwave, because people who were new to the game weren't able to get it in the previous Nightwave series, that's almost like an insult to the people who spent the time to grind out those 30 ranks. Did you do that in the Wolf of Saturn 6 Nightwave series?
Unfortunately, I did.
Unfortunately, you did. Yeah, so you did grind that. You got the Wolf of Saturn 6 armor, the emote.
It was not that I was trying to grind for it. I was just playing the game. And even playing just like 70% of the regular play time that I was doing before, I still managed to get almost 60 levels on that.
Yeah, it was pretty easy. It's kind of silly because people were complaining that it was too difficult, and like the 1 hour, or that it was issues with griefing. The 1 hour Kuva Lich survival mission where you couldn't activate life support. I liked that. I was like, here's something that's actually challenging. It's forcing me to do something that I wouldn't normally do, but I was able to do it. But because people were complaining, they nerfed it. They made it a half an hour. They took away the requirement for you to not activate life support. But it was one of the things that you needed to do if you wanted to efficiently get your way up to rank 30. Or if you didn't have a lot of time to play, that might be one way to do it. But that was definitely an appeal to the more casual players, or maybe even the newer players. The newer players weren't able to do a 1 hour survival mission, right? On the Kuva Fortress. But when they released the same rewards, the same cosmetic rewards, first of all, they said in the original one that it was going to be exclusive to the Nightwave. And I thought, oh wow, so I better grind out those 30 ranks now if I want to get it. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to get it again. And then, lo and behold, you were able to get it again in the Nightwave intermission. And then at the end of it, at rank 29 or 30 or whatever, there's that Umbral Forma, which is, everybody wants Umbral Forma, right? Like that's a valuable thing to veterans.
Pretty much the reason to grind for.
That's pretty much the reason why anybody who's a veteran player will grind the ranks in the Nightwave intermission. But along the way, you got these cosmetic items that you already had before, like the emote or the glyph, I think, or the profile icon, stuff like that. And so you're grinding through it, and you land on one of those milestones where you get a copy of a reward that you've already gotten before, not only is it useless to you, but it also devalues the first one that you got. Because the first one that you got, it was harder to get because the challenges were actually a little bit more challenging before they nerfed it. There was, fewer players would have it. As you keep re-releasing it, more players are going to have it, newer players are going to have it. So now it has less prestigiousness to it. There's less value to it because more people have it. And also, you have 2 copies of it. It's not like you can sell it. It's not like you can trade that extra copy. So you basically got something that not only was completely like a blank space that was useless to you, but it actually kind of devalued something that you already grinded for in the first place. That's just not cool. That is clearly valuing newer or more casual players over their more loyal fan base. And that's that's not cool. That's not cool. That makes me want to go and play something else, which is what I've been doing. I've been playing more Destiny lately. Now, hopefully, they've learned their lesson from that. That was not a wise decision. And I can see how they've placed this emphasis on growing and growing their numbers and getting more players, where you're not going to grow if you're getting new players at the cost of losing older players. You're not going to grow. But then the next question is, who spends more money on the game? The newer players or the veteran players? Then I think it'd be safe to say that people who are new to Warframe are more likely to spend their money on the game than people who have been around for a long time. Because once you've been around for a long time, you can easily farm up platinum. It's easy to get ribbons, and you don't really need to spend that much money unless you want to buy Tenogen cosmetic items. Like I can go in there and I have a whole bunch of stuff that I can sell. Things I have like arcane helmets even that are worth tons of platinum. I don't even know. I haven't sold it because it's more like a novelty item at this point. But a veteran player doesn't need to spend that much money, and I think that getting back to monetization, I think Destiny is in some cases better monetized than Warframe is, and specifically their season pass. Warframe doesn't monetize Nightwave, but they could, and it kind of makes me question how much money are they making off of it, and are they making enough money? Because I honestly think that maybe they're not. Because it seems like they're stretched thin. They work on something for a little bit, they release it in kind of like a half-finished state, then they scramble to finish it, and then they have these other things where they put it out there, or they talk about it for a really long time, like the pet system. It took them a long time to put that in, which it wasn't a huge, it's not like a huge thing that I don't think it would take a huge amount of resources to do. Or a bigger example would be the balance changes to status effects, the balance changes to healing effects, like healing defensive objectives. They only did one pass on those things, and then they haven't touched it very much since then. They did a couple tweaks here and there, I recall. They did some tweaks here and there, but there's more left to be done. And it seems like they don't have enough staff to finish the fucking job. And if they want to finish the job, then maybe they don't have enough money. I don't know, I don't want to go straight to saying they're not managing their finances well enough. If they aren't, maybe
what it looks like.
If they're not, I think there's a couple things. Either they're not pulling in enough money, or they're squandering their time. But I don't know if they're squandering their time. I don't know what it's like to work at Digital Extremes, and I don't really know how much money they're making. But at the end of it all, I think that them getting purchased by a larger company could potentially be a good thing, because the bigger company could start cracking the whip and helping them manage their time better. It could also help them manage their income better. And personally, I would be totally okay with, and I think it actually be a good thing. I would encourage Digital Extremes to do this, to monetize their Nightwave. I think that Destiny's season pass system is pretty fair. There's some things where I'm like, I don't think that's really fair, because it's really kind of game changing to some extent. But like, for example,
in what way would you monetize it? Probably instead of buying the Prime Access every 3 months.
I think they should keep that
with a Nightwave.
I think they should keep the Prime Access. Keep the Prime Access, and then also have Season Pass. And then do generally the same thing that Destiny does. Or there's other games that do the same thing too, like Phantasy Star Online 2, that MMORPG, or other games. Oh, hello, I didn't even hear you joined. Hello there.
Yeah, I've been hearing you rant for a good while now, so...
Oh, okay. Oh, Kitty's here too.
Yep.
Yeah.
I just got... I was just awkward. I didn't want to say anything.
Oh, that's okay.
For a good while.
So I'm recording this conversation for a video. I'm thinking about maybe putting it up on YouTube, kind of like a podcast style. I've never done a podcast style, but there's a guy who makes videos for Destiny called Say No to Rage, and I really like his videos. It's educational, it's informative. He's well thought out on the things he says, and I want to kind of contribute something like that to the Warframe community to some extent, and to some extent the Destiny community as well. So I hope you don't mind that I'm recording this, and feel free to jump in.
That's all right.
So that's Ender Knight. Ender Knight is also in the Warframe clan and also in Destiny, and he was one of the several players, myself and Haru included, that made the jump from Warframe to Destiny a couple months ago. And Flying Kitty is my girlfriend, and I've been kind of coaching her and helping her get through Warframe and also through Destiny as well at the same time. But she's more of a Warframe player than a Destiny player, I would say. But which is fair because there's a lot of content to go through in Warframe. But
Also, if you hear any silent tones of distress from my end, I am currently playing PvP in Destiny,
ooh, fun.
and I just got killed by a Phil Winters right when I spawned, like less than a second after I spawned.
That's
Well,
such a...
there you can see another big difference between Warframe and Destiny. Destiny actually has a working PvP.
They do, yeah. And I've been thinking about that too, because for myself, like, I want to say to my viewers, I've made this more heavy investment into Destiny lately than Warframe, and one of the biggest things that I've complained about, and you guys would know this, not just even my viewers, but the rest of us in the chat. One of my biggest gripes with Warframe is the lack of difficulty, the lack of challenging content, and the constant pandering and bending over backwards and caving in to fucking whiny crybabies that say that they don't want things to be difficult, that it's too hard, or they don't want them to increase the challenge or to nerf things or to buff the enemy skin. Like, fuck that. That's what made me leave. If they're going to keep going down that path of making this like the power fantasy, fine, I get power fantasy. It's fun for a while, but it gets boring. Like, being an immortal god where you can delete an entire room of enemies with the push of a button and roll your face across the keyboard to complete a mission and have like a 99% success rate on your missions, that's so... It gets boring after a while. You want a challenge.
Yeah, I can't remember the last time we failed a mission in Warframe.
Yeah. You want a challenge. Like, you know how when we do a Nightfall the Ordeal or a raid in Destiny and it's fucking hard and...
It's really easy to fail.
Yeah, it's easy to fail, or in other words, it's hard to win. It's hard to succeed, and that's why it's so satisfying when we succeed. We're like, yeah, it feels good. Like, just last night, we tried to do a raid. Now, we had some technical difficulties, but raids are tough, man. It's not something you just jump into without preparing yourself and you're going to finish it easily. Like, it takes a lot of time and effort. But the thing, too, is they have PvP, and PvP is one of the things that's been keeping me a little bit more interested in Destiny, because I can see myself getting better. I'm playing against actual players, and there's going to be this constant challenge where I'm facing off again. I don't see myself getting into the top 1%. I just don't want to spend that much time. But I like that. But you were saying, Haru, earlier, you said, how would I monetize the season pass for Warframe? Here's how I would do it. Similar to the way Destiny does it. You have the free track, which contains important game-changing stuff like Umbral Forma, special mods for weapons, things like that. And then on the paid path, where they can charge whatever, $15, $20, $25, I don't know, whatever, something that seems fair. You pay, and then you get access to the cosmetic items. So you know how they've got that new the ship, right? The special Nora Knight ship that you can get for rank 30. Have you seen that?
Stopped playing right when that patch dropped, but yeah, I've seen the
so
rewards.
Put that on the paid path, and then immediately someone's going to be like, whoa, that ship also comes with the special
I'm going to mention something that's probably giving a lot of hate, but look at Fortnite's monetization. Look at PUBG.
I don't know their monetization. How does that work?
Well, it's pretty much just what you said. It's pretty much like Destiny's Season Pass. Like,
yeah.
All the cool rewards are done with the season. I mean, you can get the free stuff, but the free stuff is just like a trial of what you could actually get.
Yeah.
I mean, even look at Destiny Season Pass. It's $10.
Yeah, that's not expensive.
Something close to $10.
Yeah, it's not expensive.
Whereas the Prime Access on Warframe, well, I mean,
it's more expensive.
I live in Mexico, but
Yeah,
it's freaking expensive.
It's much more
Yeah,
I
it
expensive.
don't know
can
Yeah.
how
get
much
really
it's in the
expensive.
US. I think it's like $50.
Yeah.
No, that's just the cosmetic items that you would get if you got the crap. What is it? Let me pull it up. And I just
So how much is actually the Prime Access in there
the
on the
Titania
US?
Titania Prime Access?
Yeah, any Prime Access. Like the whole package.
If you got the Razor Wing edition, which is the top edition, that is 139.99 USD.
It's expensive. Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah,
It's
it's expensive. But
you could buy every single expansion right now for Destiny and every season if you don't have the season pass, and you still get more money on your wallet.
It would be a little bit more
Essentially,
expensive.
yeah.
I think it's like 150.
That, and
I think
the lowest that you can pay for it is $49.99 or just $50.
It's just for the cosmetics, right?
it's not just cosmetics.
Either for the cosmetics.
It's also
the cosmetics and a 90-day booster for both credits and affinity, or you could get 1,050 platinum and 2 prime weapons.
You also get Titania Prime though, right? You get Titania Prime, and that's
that's not till you get the Lantern edition, which is $80.
Oh well, I thought we were still talking about the highest level.
No, that was the lowest one, $50.
Cheapest. The cheapest one is where you only get cosmetics.
The cosmetic, yeah. To be honest, guys, like I'm actually thinking about buying one of the cosmetic ones if it comes back again. There's a specific shoulder piece, and I think that's kind of fair. Like it is expensive, but it's purely cosmetic, and
yeah, it's purely cosmetic. But at the same time, you're paying more money to get just cosmetics than the whole game that you can get in Destiny.
Yeah, you get a lot more,
and that is also every 3 months. But I spent almost 2 years buying every single Prime Access. So that's a lot of money.
It is.
And for that amount of money, without having a challenging game, is just it gets boring real fast.
Yeah.
I mean, I do like the cosmetics. I like all that stuff, but it's
You're making like a value comparison between dollar spent on Warframe versus dollar spent on Destiny. I don't really want to compare them two per dollar because they can figure it out themselves. What's valuable per dollar spent on each game? Each person's going to figure that out themselves, right? Like some people that cosmetic item is worth it to them. Maybe they have enough money, right? That's the thing. If you have enough money to buy everything you need from both games, you're going to do that, right? Like.
Absolutely. I mean,
it's at that point it's down to the personal preference.
It's like a personal decision.
Yeah,
at that point.
It's a personal decision. But what I think they could do is they could monetize the system similar to the way Destiny does it. You got the free track, you got the paid track. The paid track is cosmetic items, and there you go. Like I don't know why they don't do that. I don't understand why they didn't. Maybe they were just testing it out. But it seems like so often we have these half finished product, kind of like half finished
content.
They'll start doing it and then they get sidetracked and they start working on something else, and then it takes them a really long time to get back to the first thing again or to finish it. But I don't know. We'll see what happens.
We can put this comparison. Remember when Bungie announced the whole map for the next 2 expansions? Like the day that the new season came out.
You mean for next year, Beyond Light?
Yeah, the roadmap.
Yeah.
They announced everything that is coming.
For the next
but you can see that they actually are working on that.
Yeah, you can tell that
you can go back and remember when they talk about Meta 3.0, Movement 2.0,
yeah,
all those stuff that took years because they like to open their mouths before they are actually working on something that they have, if not completed, at least tried. But it looks like they're just giving ideas and then shit happens, the idea is not viable or it's not that good, or they are getting feedback from all these people that is always crying because they like the power creep where they kill everything just by looking at it.
Yeah.
And they change their mind or they just go the opposite way, and things take years to come out.
Yeah. Well, I think it's...
I feel like one of the main problems with that kind of stuff is that they get a really good idea and they're really excited to share it, and they know that the people in the community they'll like it. They will want to hear about this kind of stuff.
I agree.
And then it just doesn't pan out. At which point they say, "Oh," they have to say to the community, "Oh, yeah, that thing that we were telling you about that is really cool, and that I know that you all really want to have your hands on. We're not doing that anymore."
Yeah.
Nobody wants to say that, so if they say it, they essentially have to go either, "Hey, we're not giving you what we said we were going to give you," or, "Hey, uh,
But that's every now and then. I mean, that's the issue.
Yeah, I think it's kind of there's two things that come to my mind what you're saying. One of them is that they have a different relationship with their player base, and I think I actually kind of like this about Warframe.
I mean, I like that they are really close to the player base, but at
Yeah.
the same time, listening to every single thing that the player
Yeah.
base is giving you,
Yeah.
it's like making your life decision based on Twitter opinions.
I totally agree, 100%. And you can see this all the time, is that they're sensitive to what people say when they go on their stream. You see this all the time, man. Steve, his eyes will go and wander on the stream and on the Twitch chat, and then he'll be like, "Fix your effing game." Okay, and you can see just how it gets right in, like you can see it's affecting him, and you can see like what's her name, Rebecca, so she's like really trying to like be nice to each other, it's like, dude, just tell them to fucking shut up, just be like, guys, don't tell me to fix
And
my
that's
fucking
the thing, the community that speaks the most
but they're
is
super
a toxic community.
they're super rude people, and they just let it fly. I would be like, ban that fucking asshole. I'd be like, get out of the fucking chat, man. If you don't like the game, go play something else. That's what I would say to him. But they want to be super nice and polite to everybody, and like everybody's opinion matters. If there's something I'm going to say right now, and it's probably controversial, but I think it's true. Not all.
I mean, just look at all this shit show that happens when CD Projekt Red announced Cyberpunk. And people start complaining. Well, not people, the fucking community about SJWs. Complaining about the inclusion.
Not all opinions are created
Their
equal.
answer was pretty much, go fuck yourself.
Yeah, not everybody's opinion is worth listening to. That's the thing.
Exactly, and not every opinion should be implemented.
Yeah, I agree, and they don't put in all their opinions, but they definitely have. The thing too is every time that they cave in to that like whiny, they want everything on a silver platter, super easy people, it just strengthens them, and then it grows that portion of the player base, and then anybody else like you and I or Ender will just like wander off to something else, right? And if they continue to do that and it's sustainable for them and they're making money doing it, fine, more power to them. Then that means Warframe just kind of goes in a direction that maybe it doesn't appeal to this particular part of the audience, and we can go find something else to play instead. But the thing is, we're spending money on other games, so it is potential lost revenue, right? Like they could be making money from us spending money on their game instead, but I don't know, they'll have to decide for themselves how they deal with it. But like this brings up the next thing I want to bring up, the next topic here. Lately I've been watching, unfortunately I didn't get a beta key to the new Steel Path or hard mode, but I was watching videos, and the comments that they were saying was that the time to kill on the enemies is too long, the enemies are too tanky. That's bullshit. That's so while the guy's saying this in the YouTube video, he's like one-shotting the enemies. I'm going, or two-shotting the enemies? Oh, really? It takes too long to kill them? No, man. Go, like, tons of people like the way it is in Destiny, for example. And this isn't like I know I don't speak for everybody, but go play something like Doom Eternal, or go play something like, just think of any other game off the top of your head. Like, the enemies survive long enough to actually engage with you and do their thing, right? Whereas in Warframe, you look at them and they're gone. Like, they don't even have a chance to fight back or to do their thing. Like, Warframe was like a take cover, hide behind things. Like, when it first came out, you actually had to take cover. I remember playing it. I think I played it it was either right after it was released or it was during the beta. It was 2014, and it was a much slower paced game. And people still played it. People liked it. That's why the game succeeded. And at that point in time, it was a slower paced game. And there's room for that. There's people who like that. And there's no reason that can't exist somewhere in the game when it's a non-mandatory part of the game. The Steel Path is not meant to be a mandatory thing you have to do. So what if it takes a long time to kill the guys? We go play a hard Nightfall in Destiny, you unload an entire clip, sometimes 2, 3 clips on a super tanky enemy before you kill them, and it's hard, and it's not necessarily a bad thing. We don't complain about that. It's part of the process, and if you don't like it, then just
if I can just interject something here, I feel
Yeah.
like the guy's main complaint, from what I'm hearing, if he was saying that it takes too long to kill enemies, I think that he might have been referring that like the trash mobs, the ones that should be taking like 1 to 2 hits, are taking too long to kill. Which I feel like the way that DE has the factions spread out, I don't feel like that's really the best way to do it. Like health types, because right now you got armored Grenier, shielded Corpus, and health infested.
Yeah.
But the fact that there's no interplay between the three, like if you're in a mission that has a bunch of Grenier, you are going to be fighting armor and only armor. If you're fighting infested, you'll only be fighting health.
Yes.
And that's one of the reasons that I believe is really holding back how they're doing the
difficulty, scaling the difficulty.
how they're doing, because the armor scaling, that has been thrown right out the window because with like high level stuff.
Yeah, but
I've been seeing a post going around that a Corpus Tech versus a Grenier Gunner.
Yeah.
EHP difference is like
huge. Yeah.
Approximately 10 times.
Yeah, it's a huge
Even
difference.
when they're supposed to be on the same rank.
Yeah, when they're both at 125, the EHP difference is
tremendous.
Approximately like 10 times.
Yeah.
And I feel like the fact that there's no interplay between the health types between the three main factions is hurting the actual balance of the game.
The
only time you
yeah.
And I feel like the way that they were going in the Orvalis, there's a bunch of armored enemies that you see running around. And I feel like...
Yeah.
Okay, I'm really sidetracking this.
No, I agree with you. You're making a really good point, and I think that's actually kind of cool. Like, there's two things related to that. One is that they want asymmetry, which is a cool thing to do. They want shields to work differently than armor so that they recharge, and they have cool asymmetry. I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. I think that's kind of a good and interesting game decision. It's one of the things that makes Warframe unique. But that
if they managed to make the shields comparable to armor, that would be new. That would be pretty good.
It would
that would
be
be amazing. I don't feel like it really gels well. But at that point, you really have to think, if you try and mix shields, armor, and health together into different into the same faction, what would stop them from from feeling exactly the same?
Yeah, they would all kind of be the same.
Mixing them. I just mean like Corpus Shield is almost as strong as a Grenier armor.
Yeah, that I'm not.
Yeah, you guys are both bringing up two separate points. Yeah. You're bringing up two separate points, but both of you bring up good points. And what I think is underlying that going back on Harrow's point, is that I think it'd be almost impossible to balance that. And that's the downfall. That's both the good thing and the downfall to Warframe. The good thing in Warframe is it's super unique. It's extremely complex. There's all this asymmetry and tons of variety and tons of different builds. But the downside is that it's super hard to balance that game. Whereas if you look at Destiny, there's way more limitation. Like, you don't have shielded types and health types and different types of health and different types of shields, and you don't have such.
They all still feel completely different. Like, all the different factions feel completely different because the enemies all act different.
Yeah.
For Hive, you're having to balance a bunch of swarming enemies with some very, very hard-hitting, long-ranged ones.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times very tanky ones.
Yes.
Meanwhile, if you're fighting Cabal, you're essentially fighting a bunch of relatively tanky dudes.
Yes, fewer guys, but bigger and tankier. Yeah,
it's a lot fewer guys, but you're fighting...
And they actually use formations.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Like, if you see a phalanx, you will see a bunch of legionaries
getting behind the shield.
Behind them.
Yeah, getting behind the shield, and yeah. And then the sniper guys in the back, and then they like push you up out of your cover with their purple magic thing.
Yeah, they use genuine for the most part. But a lot of times the AI just doesn't really work.
The thing though is
you
like,
can tell that it's supposed to be there, but it just doesn't exactly work the way they
yeah,
intended to.
it works okay. But the thing is, the more health that they have, the more opportunity they have to actually do their thing. I think that
Yeah,
that exists inside Warframe to an extent. Like, for example, here's a good one: the Shield Osprey. You know, they launched the Shield Osprey. It gives them shields, and then they have. I think when you shoot, it enrages some characters or whatever. They actually have these mechanics in Warframe. It's just that you don't actually feel it. You don't really notice it because they're dead so fast that it doesn't even matter. You know, like, but yeah, I think they do a pretty good job. It's just it's a good thing and a bad thing with Warframe. It's a two-edged sword. On the one hand, it's awesome because it's extremely customizable, and there's tons of different builds and RPG elements and variety. But on the other hand, it's really difficult to balance that. So I don't know what they're going to do on that in that front, but yeah, we'll see what happens.
it'll be interesting to see what happens at least.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing the Steel Path. I definitely want to try it out. I'm a little bit cautious about this bullshit feedback. I think it's bullshit feedback. I think it's the stuff they should ignore. When people go, "Oh, it's too hard." It's supposed to be hard. If it's not,
And that also comes from people that usually put some videos on how to kill everything in 2 seconds.
yeah, I saw recently Brozine, and I'm sorry, Brozine fans and Brozine himself. He made this video. Just it seemed like it was really quick, and he had this knee jerk reaction, this like gut reaction when they nerfed his this weapon. I think he was using this weapon to have like infinite scaling combo and do tons of damage with his Korra. Okay, that's the kind of feedback that I don't think they should be listening to, because part of their job is to nerf things that are busted overpowered, and part of the problem is that they've basically curated an audience. Imagine having a 7-year-old kid that cried and shit its pants every time you told it to put the chocolate bar back on the shelf. And then you cave in and you go, "Oh, fine, here, take the chocolate bar." Every time you cave into that, it just makes the kid more likely to cry and shit its pants next time and throw up a temper tantrum. But is that actually a good thing to do? No, man. Be like, "Listen, I'm not going to give you the chocolate bar." It's not, we're caring about the health and the long-term balance of the game. When they nerf things that are broken, overpowered, and the community cries and freaks out, ignore it. Balance it anyway. Nerf things that are overpowered, and buff things that are underpowered. But what happens is the community applauds them and cheers them on whenever they buff things, even when they overbuff it. Or if they release something that's overpowered, they go, "This is awesome. We like this," for obvious reasons. Everybody likes getting. Who are you gonna care? Who are you gonna vote for in an election? The candy salesman or the dentist? No one's gonna vote for the dentist. But what's better for your teeth, right? Candy or seeing the dentist, right? That's Warframe's job is kind of like a parent to their children, right? They got to do some things that are unpopular, and that means nerfing stuff that's busted overpowered. And they've got a community.
Brahma.
Yeah, like the Kuva Brahma, exactly. And when they released the
People
Kuva
were
Brahma,
complaining so bad
that they nerfed it,
because
yeah.
it got nerfed. But
Yeah.
that thing was still giving you more than 50% the damage of any
Yeah.
other weapon.
It was so overpowered when they released it, and it's kind of cool, but it's like, man, it's like getting a Nutella sandwich. Like you get like a whole sandwich full of chocolate. It's like, yeah, okay, this is a nice treat, but man, I can't live off of this. Like, you gotta maybe one, yeah, I don't know, man. That's the thing with the Warframe community. They freak out whenever they nerf stuff, and then they applaud them whenever they buff things, and it just slowly leads to constant power creep. More and more power creep. This Steel Path thing, it's basically another concession towards, okay, we have outrageous power among the players. We need to buff the enemy's health even more. Hopefully, I think it stops here. Because if they go back and they add another weapon that has infinite combo scaling, or some other ridiculous, like this does 50% of the health of the enemy in a single shot, so you two-shot the enemy no matter what their level. If they go back and they do something stupid like that again, it's going to completely invalidate their new hard mode. And it's just going to be, it's going to end up dividing the players. You're going to have casual players at all different levels. I don't know, man. They gotta start doing some stuff that I think is going to be a little bit unpopular with their player base for the long-term health of the game. And I know that my opinion is unpopular because those specific players that agree with Brozine and that think that the power fantasy is the end all be all, they're not going to like what I have to say, but whatever, man. Yeah. Let me know what you think.
Going real fast when you have all the power. Like,
yeah, it gets
you
boring
don't
when you
need
have
all
all the power. It gets boring. It's like, okay, this is fun for a little while, but then it's like, this is not challenging. I'm not seeing myself grow. I think I'm going to stop it there. Thanks for watching, everyone who's watching. Thanks you guys for contributing to the discussion. And if you want to contribute to the discussion, let me know in the comment section below. I'd like to hear what you have to say. I know that sometimes I say shit that's rude and I curse, and sometimes I'm wrong, but yeah, it's whatever. I'll learn from it in the future maybe. Anyway, thanks for watching. See you guys.
Yeah.